Welcome to the Grab a Hole podcast. I'm your host, Justin S. I am back in the pool house alongside my co-host, Damien, who is back out on his patio. And we are ready to talk all things WWE this week, the post-WrestleMania SmackDown. We're going to talk about Raw this week as it's our normal Wednesday night. But first, after a week in between since the last episode and the big 100th episode, 2-year anniversary, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great, man. I'm ready to dive into some wrestling because I got a lot to say today.
I feel like both of us got a lot to say on different subjects and topics here, so it's going to be a fun episode with some thought-provoking conversation. And we haven't, we both said, hey, we got some shit to say in our group message, but we didn't get into detail about what those things are, so I think it's going to be fun tonight.
I think so.
If you are listening to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or you are watching us now right here on YouTube, make sure that you hit the bell to subscribe, the heart, the plus sign, whatever it is, so you get the notification that as soon as we drop these on Wednesday night, that you are ready to watch and or listen to this episode. As soon as they come out, every Wednesday we drop these currently. That's the night that we record during the week. And we appreciate all the listening, all the comments, all the shares, all the word of mouth that we can get out there. So make sure that you subscribe in whatever version and whatever platform you are watching and or listening on. Before we get to SmackDown and Raw, I want to talk about some stuff that came off of the XM Sirius satellite show Busted Open. Do you listen much to XM radio in general, but specifically Busted Open radio?
No, I don't get XM radio or any satellite radio or anything like that, but I do get clips on TikTok.
Okay, see, so I don't have XM either, but I listen to the next day on their YouTube videos. So I'm able to catch it in a recap or a segment of whatever it is. So same here. But one of the things that was very prevalent WrestleMania weekend was Busted Open, and Dave LaGreca, who has been the host and essentially the anchor to that show, went off based on what happened in the Cena Cody main event and everything they did in the build and all those things. And his co-hosts regularly are Mark Henry, Bubba Ray Dudley, and Tommy Dreamer. And occasionally they rotate people through the week like Thunder Rosa, Nick Nemeth, depending on Baron Corbin, now Bishop Dyer. They have different people, but Mark Henry, Bubba, and Tommy Dreamer are the usual three. And Dave went off on this epic rant about how they fucked things up with this match, how it was, even you had mentioned at one point, it essentially ruined this year's WrestleMania, depending on how you felt about some of the other matches. And he would go on to say that, he felt some type of way when The Rock, the next, following week, went on the Pat McAfee show. And we brought up what he said on Pat McAfee. I went off a little bit about what he said, talking about where his role was, what was asked of him, where he was pandering to Pat and all that shit. And it got Dave so worked up that he wound up going on another rant. And The Rock actually responded to Dave. Did you see any of this or hear about any of this?
Yeah, I saw the response.
Okay.
I saw the Rock response.
So did you see Dave LaGreca's, and I want to be specific with LaGreca. Some people hear Dave in the wrestling business and they think Meltzer. This is Dave LaGreca. Did you happen to see any of what his rant was? I mean, obviously it was towards The Rock, but essentially the meeting.
I think I read something about it. I read some of the things that he said. I didn't hear the rant myself personally, but I read some of the things that he said.
He essentially said what a lot of wrestling fans have on their mind and on their chest about, why was The Rock even involved? Why would you go out and spill all this stuff and all the things that, basically blowing holes in all the things that people have felt have been wrong with this build, with The Rock's involvement the last 2 years in WWE and things of that nature. And to which The Rock responded with, it's a work. It always has been. And getting that fired up isn't healthy. Enjoy the ride. Myself, Brian, Cody, and John take everybody on. When you read that, just as a tweet, do you hear a certain tone when you read that?
When I hear it's a work, I hear Hulk Hogan.
Right. So, and when you've heard Hogan say it, does it or does it not come off somewhat condescending?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
But Hulk Hogan's a very condescending human being.
right. And I really tried to take away the frustrations I had from this year's WrestleMania and the build of it and try to see, like, maybe I'm looking at this from the wrong angle, but he legitimately came off like a Hulk Hogan. Very condescending, very much like downplaying Dave's emotions of his reaction to all these things. And I, as a wrestling fan, oddly enough, was kind of hurt by this. I don't know if you don't think anything of it or if you think like, well, that's The Rock now and that's just kind of where he's at. But for me, I got kind of pissed off.
Well, before you go on your rant here, let me just say I didn't get pissed off. I don't think very much of The Rock. I don't even find him to be entertaining when he shows up to do his little, like, this whole thing. I don't find, like, I feel like his shtick has kind of gotten old. Like, it was cool when he would show up once every couple of years, and he would show up and you hear his music and he would go out there and drop a couple of catchphrases. I just feel like he's such a big star in Hollywood that he's at that point now where he's lost touch with reality.
So he does, in the wrestling business, he doesn't have his finger on the pulse anymore.
He doesn't have his finger on the pulse on anything, right? Like all the movies that he had, the Black Adam stuff, the issues that he had with the guy that was supposed to play Superman.
Right.
Like he thinks, and maybe he's the biggest star out there, right? He's probably the most bankable star out there in Hollywood, but I think he's above it all. I think he thinks he can get away with anything he wants. I think he's at that point where there's no coming back for him, where he's just lost touch with the reality and he's going to do what he thinks is best for himself. I kind of put him in that class. He's right there with like the Will Smiths and like he's so big, like where he was somebody that was so cool at one point and everybody loved, where he's out of touch with reality and he doesn't understand that the things that him and his family are doing are fucking crazy.
They're not the norm for everybody.
And I think the Rock, I think the stuff that he's doing, and it's fucking crazy, And I don't think he cares. I think he's going to do what he wants to do, and so that's why I'm like, the less I hear about him, the less he's on my TV screen, the better. I'm not watching any press conferences or any interviews that he's doing because I'm not interested.
Right. Well, as somebody, and you've mentioned this, David's mentioned this on this show, that I'm the one at the footwork level of this whole thing, as far as like whether it's a post on Instagram, whether it's an interview, that like whatever one or two things that you guys will send in the group message or to me, I got 3 or 4 things that I'm sending to you guys throughout the day. That's just my level of fandom, of just keeping up with a little bit of everything and seeing what's going on and kind of trying to keep up with the wrestling business as a whole, and not trying to just keep it to only what I feel like, oh, I like this person, so I'm only going to pay attention when this person's in the news, good, bad, or indifferent. But this really got me frustrated because, one, I felt like the message that he was sending was a problem, and 2, the thing that comes across to me in all of it is that when you look at what he said and how he said it and Dave's reaction to it, it was very reminiscent of what people go through as wrestling fans in general, to the once people say now wrestling's cool and whatnot, but at one time it wasn't cool. You yourself had admitted there was a time where you didn't want people to know how big of a fan you were. It wasn't that you didn't want them to know that you were a wrestling fan at all. It was just like, oh, I used to watch that thing, or I grew out of that thing. And that's how a lot of people had to grow up with it in our age bracket and even older. And the way that The Rock says, oh, it's a work. It's all, it's all scripted. It's all predetermined. Like, calm down. Explain to me why you can say in a tweet or on Pat McAfee, it's all a work. Calm down. But while you're on everybody's television screen, you're asking everybody to suspend their disbelief and to take that passion that they have and use it, whether it's to cheer, boo, whatever reaction it is, to do that. But now you're looking at somebody who is somewhat of a voice to the everyday person. If you listen to Dave LaGreca's show, speaking, he gets the, ability to speak with 3 guys who have been in the business for 20 plus years apiece and have been there, done that. And he gets to be that guy that talks with them every day. So he speaks from a place of fandom, not a place of being the wrestler and going through it and understanding backstage politics or understanding what it's like to be in the ring and the adrenaline rush that it takes at a WrestleMania or in a main event position. These guys do. And when you look at somebody like that, like The Rock, who, as you mentioned, is as big as he fucking is, you literally watched him become a switch-up guy, is what I'll say. Because you tell me if this sounds right to you. To me, it came off as when he was on Pat McAfee's show, when he did the Netflix debut, that he was executive Rock that wanted to be with the cool kids. But when he wants something like repairing his image for shitty movies and bad attitudes, and he shows up on WWE television, well, no, those guys, I just know them. They're not my friends. I'm one of you guys. I love the business, right? Tap the arm, right? Goosebumps. But when those guys show up again, oh, I don't hang out with those losers. I'm one of you. I'm the board. I'm the head of the board, right? Like, I'm a board member. Those guys aren't anybody to me. It's all a show. It's a work, man. Like, you literally are switching up as if you're a kid in high school that is so nervous that the popular kids aren't going to fucking like you that you decided to shit talk the kids who were really your friends and got you to where you were to begin with. Because let's be clear, and I'll say this straight up, and whether people like it or don't like it, there is a lot of people who don't know The Rock based on WWE. They know him based off his movies. But let's be very clear. There's no Hollywood Rock without WWE Rock. There's no Hollywood Dwayne Johnson without Die Rocky Die as Rocky Maivia in the Nation of Domination. That doesn't happen. Because the personality that winds up coming from that and the ambition that he has, those doors were opened via WWE and the wrestling business. So to sit here and try and act like the wrestling business is a fucking joke, which is what he did by saying it's a work, Dave, calm down. You're getting overworked. It's not healthy, brother. Like, you're making a joke out of somebody's passion, which, like I said, that somebody speaks for droves and droves of people that feel the same way that Dave did, that felt the same way about the end of WrestleMania, that felt the same way about why The Rock was not involved after he went on the Pat McAfee show. When you literally sit here and look at the timeline, okay? Let's look at the timeline. I said to you last week after his interview that maybe his conversation with Ari Emanuel was real. That Ari called him and said, ticket sales are light for Chamber. We want to make it must-see because it's important that we show that, as it's not just a stepping stone to get to WrestleMania. And now, a week later, we have WrestleTix, who handles a lot of estimates to real facts when the numbers come out, pretty accurately. They now are saying that by the time The Rock got that phone call in his timeline of calling, that those ticket sales weren't as low as he's wanting you to believe. That was there a few thousand that weren't there? Sure. But you're going to tell me that you needed The Rock to move the final 3,000 to 5,000 tickets internationally? I don't believe that. Not with a month to go, right? Because that was the timeline, was talking about how do we get there? And we've also heard that what played out at Chamber was originally planned for Mania. So there had to be some time before. It's not like he called a week before and said, hey, Rock, we need you here. Let's do this heel turn. No, you got to remember, this goes back weeks, right? To him saying, I want you to sell your soul, right? That was weeks before Chamber. Chamber was the decision. He did the video where he was getting on the plane the week before. There was not as many tickets out as he thought or was told, according to his story. Now, let's talk about what he said that Ari asked and what he came up with, right? He said, we need you there. What do you got? And he comes up with the final boss sell your soul bit. And he acts like that's the fresh idea, right? What about what happened at Bad Blood? You mean to tell me that there was zero that had to do with that? That he just magically decided to use the finger gesture again? he magically decided that, you know what, I'm just going to show up at the end of Bad Blood in Atlanta for the fuck of it, for a maybe, and maybe we tie this together in the end. Maybe we don't. But I'm going to do something that's going to get people talking. But you're not going to see me again until Netflix. And then when you do see me, I'm going to be chumming it up with the Netflix executives and pretending like everything that I said and everything that I did from WrestleMania 40 to Bad Blood in October of last year, none of that matters now because me and Cody are cool and we're going to drink tequila and he's a great champion. Because all this is a work, brother. Are you fucking kidding me? Dave LaGreca was right to be passionate. You don't have to agree that The Rock's, an asshole. You don't have to agree that The Rock's a shitty actor. You don't have to agree that you don't like him coming back. You just said right now, I don't really care for him coming back, right? Like, that's not your deal. He's not your guy. You can like him, you can hate him, whatever. But the facts are the facts. And he's disrespecting the WWE as a community, as a fan base, and as a whole. Where it comes from, I don't fucking know. I'm not in those meetings. But what I will tell you is that it is pissing me off as a fan to watch all this shit unfold and watch somebody who gets held on this pedestal as being an all-time great, and this is the guy that wants to be disrespectful and a shithead when WWE is his fallback. Every time something goes bad, Black Adam, his fight with the DC universe, everything that went bad with him being involved with Vin Diesel and the Fast and Furious, he found his way back to WWE. WWE saves his ass again. He showed up at WrestleMania 39. And the only reason, I believe this, the only real reason why he didn't dig his claws in deeper to that motherfucker is because the fans wouldn't allow it. That the fans said, not you. We know you want Roman, but you should have been here last year. You should have been there for Roman last year. We didn't need to see Roman and Brock again. We could have seen you at 38 or 39. 39 was in LA at SoFi. Why didn't we get it then? Nope. Wasn't there. Didn't happen. Then you see a guy who comes back, went away, comes back and put the work in to get the spot, and the fans went, this is our fucking guy. No, you're not doing this. And he sat in front of a camera. You and I said this. Sat in front of a camera in the YouTube series that came out 3 months after it was originally advertised as the post-WrestleMania YouTube show that they were doing that was like an hour long or whatever of behind the scenes of WrestleMania, and sat there and said, oh, I knew that when the fans reacted that way, I wasn't gonna do that. Like, I knew what they were gonna do. They wanted me to be a bad guy, so I was a bad guy. I knew this. They did exactly what I wanted them to do. We came up with this, but it was me that sat here and did this. And we looked at each other and talked about this and went, Are you for real? You just took credit for everything. Just like Hogan, right? That delusional bullshit. There are compilations. You and I, David, we've all joked about the compilations of the lies of Hogan that are out there on the internet. The Rock is very quickly finding himself in real, true fans' eyes as becoming a new modern wave Hulk Hogan. And it's sad. Because there is nothing he never needed to be on Pat's show and say why he wasn't going to be at Mania and try to make some bullshit up that threw Hunter under the bus. If Hunter was going to take the L, let him take the L. Don't sit here. What's that?
Maybe that part is a work.
Maybe.
Maybe they're setting something up.
But if you're doing that, don't try to make a chuckle fuck situation out of the WWE fans over that and wrestling fans in general.
Yeah, man. Listen, I know you're way more passionate about this than I am, but I think it's just because I've already come to accept that he's lost touch with reality. I don't take him seriously. I don't even want him on my TV. He was cool when wrestling wasn't cool. Now that wrestling is cool, he's fucking old. He's not cool. Mm-hmm. Sorry, you're not cool. Like, yep. You're an old man. Like, it got to a point where Hulk Hogan was cool, right? And then when he was into Hollywood Hogan, and then he's not cool anymore. Ric Flair, like, you see him out there on, he lasted a little bit longer, but you see him out there, it's like, he's not cool. It's kind of sad seeing him out there. So, I mean, he's just at that point. He's just not cool, and he wants to try and relate, but he can't. He can't relate to anybody at this point.
No. And so here's what I'll ask to wrap this up. Do you think that there really is currently a power struggle that is happening behind closed doors with Hunter and The Rock? And I don't mean like, is it like, oh, they're eventually setting something up for this to work? Because we know Hunter's not going to wrestle, right? The heart condition stops that. So we know
No,
that that's not the payoff. But what we've seen is him continually be in the situation where he brings up Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan and their relationships and everything that comes with that. Is there a very real, now he's the head of the board, is there a very real power struggle going on behind the scenes at WWE and TKO?
no, I don't think so. I don't think not really. I think The Rock knows who's in charge of creative, and it's Triple H. But I will say, on those occasions when The Rock is around, he wants control of his creative. And I don't know if that means that there's a power struggle, right? Like, I would think that The Rock has been around, done enough, where him and Brian Gewirtz go away, and when they come back, they have a plan for what they want to do, and they want to incorporate themselves in everything. So, in a sense, maybe yes, a little bit of a power struggle when it comes to him, but for the most part, Triple H is in charge of 98% of everything else.
Do you think when he comes back and has shit to say that it only pertains to him? That he doesn't have shit to say about other people? And I don't just mean like, well, him and whoever he's got to work with. Like, he sees the landscape, and when he comes back, well, hey, this is what I think here, brother. What do you try this here?
I don't think he's watching enough. I don't think he's paying enough attention. I think he's
not
got
there.
other things going on. Unless it's Gewirtz, unless he tells his head writer, you keep an eye on everything and you fill me in when I get back and tell me what you think we should be doing. But I don't think so. He doesn't get his hands on everything. So I don't know. Not yet, maybe at least. There's not a power struggle, I don't think. I think Triple H is very aware of what his role is. He's not even on the board, right? When the company merged, he got removed from the board that he was on with the WWE board. So he knows he's an employee of the company. So, I don't think so. I think
Do you think that him jumping in and out, and whether it's just about him and whoever he wants to work with, that causes a problem because they have to redirect plans for whoever he's working with, and B, find new plans for whoever that person was going to work with in the near future? Do you think that this is going to be a reoccurring problem in that sense of like it's a constant, like, we know things change constantly in the wrestling business. We've heard a million stories about last minute things come up, injuries come up, yada yada yada. But do you think that this is going to be a detrimental to the organization type problem that's going to continue to happen because of him?
Not in the short term, because I still think he's a viable entity or a viable commodity that they can put out on a screen. And whenever he's there, people do want to see him and tune in, and it becomes more mainstream than anything else he can put out there. But if this keeps going on for the long term, then maybe I think it could become a problem. But if his intention is to maybe keep himself around enough just to set up that Roman Reigns match at next year's WrestleMania, then I don't think it's a problem. I don't think so. But if when he's done with that and he wants to be around more often, then I think it could be. But I don't know if he wants the grind of being in control of creative all the time.
Right.
I think he's smart to understand that.
That's not a deal that he wants to be a part of.
Yeah.
That
He's going to make more money. He's going to make a lot more money doing movies and other things, and this is kind of just like a little side project of his, and it's not going to be a major problem. Maybe minor at times, and we might get frustrated with certain things because he's pushing himself into the main event, but he's not going to come back and not be in the main event.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
He's not going to take a back seat to anybody.
He's going to be in one of the main storylines. So we'll just have to hope that they incorporate it well. And I think they fumble fucked this one with the whole sell me your soul shit. They messed that one up. But I don't think that was the only thing that was messed up.
That was my next question was, do you think that this is a bigger issue that like got exponentially bigger because of the Rock thing on top of the problems they were already having without him in the creative and the build of all this stuff? Because when we talked about the end of WrestleMania last week, you said that this was an L for Hunter this time. And, it was a black mark on his resume that after 40, everybody was, everything's a grand slam. Everything's a home run. And realistically, everything can't be a home run. So we were like, well, how bad is this? And you're like, it's bad enough. So do you think that with this issue this year, specifically to WrestleMania, that his interjection of the sell your soul shit just was icing on the cake to how rough and bad this year was in general?
Yeah, I do. And I honestly think that I don't think he had any plans of going on McAfee. I think they were trying to do some damage control. I think he fucked it up, but I think the intentions were correct as far as, you know what? I put myself into the story and then I took myself out of it. I believe that in a sense where I didn't want to be a distraction for John Cena's record-breaking 17th championship reign. So he took himself out of it. And I think in retrospect, maybe they're thinking maybe he shouldn't have. Maybe he should have been there because of the story that they forced, if they forced it into at Elimination Chamber. Right? They forced that story in there, so they should have seen it through instead of going away from it. And so I think that he saw that WrestleMania wasn't received very well by a lot of us. And a big part of it was the main event on night 2. And I think he wanted to go in there and do some damage control. And I think inadvertently threw Triple H under the bus. You don't want to throw your partner, your employee, your coworker, whatever they are, under the bus. And I think he did it I don't think intentionally, by saying that he would have done things, differently. I see how people could take it that way. When he said, I would have maybe done things a little bit differently. People can say he's throwing him under the bus, or people can take it as, you know what, he's probably right. What Triple H did wasn't great.
But I think that's part of the problem, though, is like to say that. It's one thing to say, you know what, I'd have done something differently, because you could argue, right, that like Austin would say something like that. If it was Roman would say something like that. If it was Punk would say something like that, because they all have their own vision of what a WrestleMania card or a wrestling match looks like. But to go after a situation that you knew was already volatile and fragile, that people were already up in arms about, and one day removed from that, and then said that and said, well, I'd have done it differently. Well, fuck, me, you, and David said that. You know what I mean?
What's the issue?
So
I wasn't too bothered. I think what the people are bothered by is the tweet or the Instagram post that he made after LaGreca's comments. Like, calm down, bro. And I see your point of view where like you're almost offended by that. Like, fuck, dude, I care about this shit. I watch it all the time. Don't tell me to calm down.
And this will be the last thing I'll fucking say about this, and we'll move on. I've spent the better part of 30 plus years being a wrestling fan and having to defend that to a lot of people along the way for various reasons. Whether they don't believe the athleticism of the show, whether they don't believe in whether or not it's real or fake, whether it's, performative art, name it, I've defended it. And I know I'm not the only one. So to sit here and be the guy who is one of the top, I guess you would say top 3 most recognizable figures out of wrestling, that people, when you go wrestling, they go, oh, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock, those guys? Like, those are the 3 guys that you kind of go off the top of your head if you don't know wrestling right away. That guy just told everybody that's been a fan, hey, listen, don't get passionate about this. What? You're getting overexcited. You're getting overzealous, is what he said.
I feel like this is a good conversation to have, because I think we're both on different ends of it right now. Because I love wrestling. I care about wrestling. I watch almost everything. I watch Monday Night Raw. I watch NXT on Tuesday. I watch SmackDown. Mm-hmm. I do a podcast.
Right.
And there are things I don't like, but I don't let it ruin my day.
No. I don't
like Greco legitimately looked like he worked himself into a point where he let it ruin his day, maybe a couple of days. And I think The Rock is saying, like, bro, like, calm down. Like, you're not going to like everything. It's going to be okay. And he's right. There have been lots of things that we've seen that we don't like. And there are things that we do like, right? I could like something and you don't like, you know what I mean? You're not going to always make everybody happy.
Yeah. No, I understand that.
So I think he's telling them, calm down. Like, I think that's what he was trying to enjoy the ride. Maybe it came off a little condescending, but don't get so caught up in it. Like, it's going to be okay. There's going to be another show next month, right? There's going to be another show in a couple weeks.
Well, I understand. I think to your point about LaGreca is pretty spot on. Like, how it affected him, like that, as rough as it did. Like, it clearly roughed him up personally.
I don't know how much money he spent going to WrestleMania and doing all that stuff, right? Like,
yeah, no lie. But I don't look at it as like, oh, it ruined my day. But as somebody who's an adult, who's been a fan since a kid, and whether it's been action figures, the trading card world now, right? Like, that's the thing. Being involved in some of those moments and having sentimental attachments to, wrestling moments for various reasons, whether it's, we've talked about this privately, you and I and myself and David, the connection that it created for me and my father, who's no longer with us. Like, there's shit for a lot of people, whether it was a downtime, a rough time, a relationship, whatever, that created moments that brought people together in that moment. And when you're sitting here going, hey, calm down, it's not that big a deal. Is it enough to ruin my day? No. He wasn't, number one, he wasn't talking to me. And number two, as far as like directly, he was talking to Dave. But two, I don't sit here and go, well, wrestling over my family and everything. There's only that's not on the level I'm on. But what I am saying is somebody who's given a shit, spent lots of hard-earned money to be there. There's only been 41 WrestleManias, and you and I can say that we fucking are in a small group of people that have been able to say we've been to one and been a part of that. And you're looking at every person that spent their livelihood of hard-earned money, or maybe that was somebody spending the time of turning their kids into a wrestling fan and telling them, hey, calm down, it's not that serious. Really? Because I see Comic-Con every year in San Diego, and I watch these motherfuckers dress up like these people that are a part of anime, that are a part of cartoons, that are a part of video games, and nobody's telling those motherfuckers from those shows and those games or nothing like that going, hey, calm down. You're getting too serious.
Listen, I told you my story at the end of WrestleMania 39, right? End of WrestleMania 39, Roman Reigns just got done beating Cody Rhodes. My brother-in-law and I were getting out of the stadium. We're going up an escalator, and there's a kid. Not a kid, a grown-ass man that looks, I'd say early 20s, with the championship belt, with his Cody Rhodes gear on, just kind of looking just sad and defeated. And my brother-in-law, sarcastically, kind of, but also kind of feeling sorry for him, says, don't worry, man, it'll be all right. And the motherfucker starts crying.
Just loses it.
Just starts crying. So I get it. People care. There were people fighting in the stands, right?
That's wild.
At the end of the match, because they were cheering so hard for one guy. Like, there were people fighting. I saw it just down the way. So I get it. I will say this. I've never gotten mad watching a movie as far as how it,
Yeah.
I've never gotten mad watching a television show as far as how it ended. I've gotten mad watching wrestling, and I'm like, I'm not going to watch for the next couple of weeks. Fuck it. But I get pissed off. I get angry all the time watching the Lakers and Mariners lose.
Right.
That pisses me off. And that kind of ruins my day for a couple of hours. And then I'm over it to the point where I won't even turn on social media because I don't want to see all the, tweets and posts and things like that. So I get it. Turn the TV off. Turn social media off. Get off of it for a little bit. Don't watch for a week or two and come back and see if something's different. Don't let it ruin your day, guys. Like, don't let it ruin your day. I get it. There's going to be things that we don't like, but speak out about it. But then when somebody tells you to calm down, also, like, take it. Like, yeah, maybe I'm overreacting a little bit. Right? My wife gets mad at me when I slam the floor down, when I slam the couch because I'm watching the Lakers and they lose. She's like, calm down. It's just a game. And that pisses me off, so I get it.
That makes it worse, right?
That makes it worse. I get it.
Yep.
So, the Rock telling him, calm down, I get it.
Yeah. No, for
But at the same time, let's move on to some real wrestling now.
Okay, so let's move on.
Now I'm going to show you how pissed off I am.
All right, we got to get to your rant and your thought-provoking conversation piece. We got the Post-Mania SmackDown last week. We said before we recorded, did SmackDown need to be on the same level Post-Mania that Raw was? And we said it at least had to match that energy, right? So we had Orton and Cena have their moment with the RKO and, pretending it's 2009 and they're squaring off. We saw a new U.S. Women's Champion as Zelina Vega surprised the shit out of everybody and beat Chelsea Green. We had Nia Jax return. You were just, one show too late. You said she was coming back, but
not in the right feud either, though.
Right. We also had the return of Alistair Black as he kicked The Miz. And then we had that crazy TLC match that you said should have been on WrestleMania, which was highlighted on a lot of social media by Montez Ford taking a prosthetic leg from a fan in the front row.
Amazing.
What did you think of the show? What did you like? What did you not like about the Post-Mania SmackDown?
Yeah, okay, let's start off. I want to start off with the TLC main event of Friday Night SmackDown. That, I don't know, I don't like comparing this match to like other TLC matches, but it's hard for me to fathom a better match than that. You know what I mean? And it's probably the original, the second one was probably better. I'm not a Dave Meltzer who likes to sit here and give things stars or whatever. But fucking A, man, if I wasn't on the edge of my seat, and this is coming from somebody, and I'll be the first one to admit, I don't always watch entire matches.
Oh yeah,
especially on like Raw or SmackDown, I will forward it through chunks of the matches so that I can get to the end and see the story develop. Right? I'll watch everything on the PLE, but for me on a Friday night SmackDown to sit there at, it was like 11:30 on a Friday night and watch the whole thing, that says something. And man, I wish that was on WrestleMania. I wish they gave them those 23 minutes that they put on to open up night 2 of WrestleMania or even night 1.
No lie. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that was one of those I'm going to show you matches. Like, you didn't want to put us on WrestleMania. We've had a good, and I will say, SmackDown in the tag team division has been much improved this year. Like, they've done a good job over the last 6-8 months of developing a real division where there was real contenders, and it's not the same team and people thrown together. Like, it was real teams. They've done real things with them, and they made them matter. And this match was, you're not going to put us on WrestleMania? All right, I'm going to show you. And then they went out and fucking did it. So kudos to those teams and what they did and how they showed up. I mean, it was huge. It was a huge match. One of my buddies from the Discord and card community, he was actually behind the announce table because he's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So he was actually there, got to see it live. He raved about this match and talked about how awesome it was. So as much as it was great on TV, it was just as good live and in person.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, though, and I know I heard somebody else say it, and I agreed with it on another podcast. If they were on WrestleMania, maybe they don't get as much time. Maybe that time gets cut in half, or by a third or whatever, and they don't have that chip on their shoulder, and maybe it doesn't come off as great in a stadium. I don't know. So whatever the case, it was just that match. I mean, match of the year, I think already. It's gonna be tough to top.
I would say it's got to be up there.
Like I said, I'm not good at like rating matches because I think, for a lot of times it could be a mediocre match, but the story's great. It elevates it. But in just pure action and just moments and just the way that the whole thing went, man, I loved it, man. And I'm sorry, but Montez Ford needs to find his way into a singles program for a mid-card title soon so that he can be in the main event picture by at least WrestleMania 43.
Right? No lie.
Like, that guy is just amazing. And I heard he's 34, so like...
Yeah, he's not super old.
Yeah, he's getting older, but he's still young in wrestling terms, right? Yeah. He can still go until he's still got 10 years left minimum, at least, of wrestling prime. So, they better get going with that, because he's ready.
Absolutely.
And kudos, Motor City Machine Guns, they're showing that they belong. DIY, obviously great. I like Tommaso Ciampa's new look. I kind of want him to keep the beard stubble short. I think it was a good look. So he kind of looks a little too cartoony with the long beard, and I think this kind of makes him look. You see his chiseled like jaw, a little menacing. I don't know. I kind of like the shorter look. So that was great, man. Let's start just first things first. I mean, TLC, kudos to those guys.
Okay. So, how did you feel about Orton coming out as the first challenger to Cena?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was surprised that he was the challenger. I knew that they would be involved in something at Backlash because it is in St. Louis and they were on the poster. I was shocked that they were actually going to go straight to that. and have a one-on-one match. And do it so soon. I would have liked perhaps for this to be built a little bit longer. If it's a one-off and we're just doing it just to get it done, just so that we could say we saw face Orton against heel Cena one time, okay. But I definitely think that they should have dived into their history a little bit more than they did, instead of talking about John Cena having kids. Like it was like what 9 years ago that they wrestled for the Undisputed Championship,
give or take,
and they unified
yeah.
the championships. So I wish they would have. I wish John Cena would have kind of just gone in on Orton, telling him that how dare he call him out for who he is now when he's never lived up to the expectations that were put on him, or something like that. Mm-hmm. That he was always messing around. That he was always not taking things seriously. So I kind of like it. I don't hate it, but I think they could do more. And I think with Cena in this final run, this kind of seems to be a reoccurring theme with him, where they're not fully diving into what they should be diving into. And I don't understand why they're just not letting him just go and just get super personal with these guys and just tell everybody how he feels. He's going off on the fans more than he is on his opponents.
Yeah. And
I want him to focus on his opponents and not the fans anymore.
Do you feel
but I get it, because they do cheer him. I do want to go off on the fans. Later, at some point, we need to talk about the fans and how they've been acting.
No, we will.
So he's got to go off on the fans so that they don't start just cheering him because they like it. That it's cool to be a bad guy again.
Right. Do you feel like this is the first of what will be several instances during this final run that there's just going to be, it's a nostalgia match with the championship? Like, I
think so. I think that's the kind of run we're getting.
I said that this was going to be a problem of him winning the title so early, as in WrestleMania being the win. Like, the win could have came at SummerSlam. The win could have came in the fall, down the last leg of this thing. By having him as the champion now, you get Orton, nostalgia. You know they're going to go back to Punk at some point. Nostalgia, right? That's another. You're essentially just going down the list of some of his biggest rivals / opponents, and because he's the champion, he's ruining wrestling in each match. Like, and depending on who he's fighting, that doesn't really hold very much weight depending on who he's going up against. Cody represented the fans, right? That was the idea, was that he represented everything that Cena had become to hate, because the fans showed him love that he never got. Well, his biggest complaint about Randy is that he was immature in the past, and that the fans love Randy now. That, like, he grew up, like, he matured. That's what you're mad about? So I'm going to turn and yell at the fans because you matured and the fans like that? Like, I mean, then where does it go with Punk? You ran away and the fans still loved you and they never loved me? So we're just going to keep getting this Cena versus the fans? That's not Cena ruining pro wrestling in my eyes.
Yeah. But I think they're like, he has to go against the fans because they want to cheer him. So if he's not talking shit about them, they're going to cheer for him. They're going to cheer for him. So that's the only way. But yeah, I don't hate the nostalgia run. As long as we just accept it for what it is. I'm sitting here trying to think. After Punk, I don't know who's left. Maybe AJ Styles is turning face right now.
That's got to be one, right?
AJ Styles has got to be one. Rollins is kind of off doing his own thing. It wouldn't make sense with Rollins. Maybe Roman Reigns, even though Reigns is involved with stuff that Rollins is doing. But if they just leave him on SmackDown and let Rollins do his thing on Raw, then they can come back to that later on, probably after Cena leaves.
Right.
Probably towards next year's WrestleMania, and let Punk carry that feud with Rollins and Heyman. Maybe Roman. As far as nostalgia goes, I don't know who else. Edge would have been one, obviously, if he was still in the WWE. I don't know who else they could bring in. Who'd you say?
No, I said who else that leaves.
Yeah, so I mean, we're looking at December. I mean, we got Orton, Punk, AJ, Roman. Is Roman WrestleMania, or is he kind of like the guy that he's wrestling on the way out? And do we get that championship back on Roman on his way out, and he's going into WrestleMania with Rollins as the champion? I don't know.
And there's a lot.
So that's a long ways away. I don't know they probably got that penciled in somewhere, but
right.
I think Roman has to be that last, or maybe Cody, and then Cody at the end.
I think you got
So
to have Cody get his get back at the end, right? Like
I
that's the
think I think
finishing
he's the
torch.
one that saves wrestling, right? The
Right,
story is Cena's going to destroy professional wrestling. Cody's going to save it.
right.
I don't know how long he's going to be
Okay,
out for.
so let me ask you this, and this just kind of hit me in this thought process about all this and the ruining wrestling thing. If you're WWE in a creative meeting, are you willing to throw away a year of wrestling essentially? Like because not the whole show, but main event wrestling for John Cena to have the big heroic Cody moment at the end of the year, you're willing to throw away because you figure this year it was in 8 months because Mania was in April. So 8 months of main event wrestling just takes a giant shit for 2025 until December, and Cody's the guy that comes back and they're like, we got it. Like he ends the problem. That's where, like, you can buy that in a creative meeting where they're like, for the next 8 months, the main event,
Well,
either the
I feel
title's
like
not defended or we're going to purposely just shit the bed in these matches and we'll
we
blame it on ruining wrestling.
have to have some good matches.
Right?
At some point, they're going to be like, all right, let's have a good match here. Like, like
I feel like coming out of the WrestleMania thing, so many people said, oh, that was intentional, right? Like, he's ruining wrestling. If that's what you're going to get, you can shit the bed every month at a PLE and blame it on him ruining wrestling.
I need to go back and rewatch that main event. I will say this: I've heard people say that it wasn't terrible until the Travis Scott
thing.
So maybe they just did not realize that Travis Scott walking down the ramp for 5 minutes was going to ruin this match.
Well, I will say that the
other people were saying it was actually a pretty good match.
The other gripe or nitpick, I guess maybe not gripe, but nitpick is that the pacing of the match was so glacial that it exposed Cena for being a step slower at his, and what you would expect is somebody his age and not in the ring regularly, that it exposed a lot of that, and that was also a factor in the match, that the Travis Scott thing and that were why it was as, rough as it was up until before Travis Scott. So we'll see. We mentioned Alistair Black's return. Thumbs up, thumbs down, don't give a shit, thumbs in the middle.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get involved in something pretty quickly and get him involved in a nice little storyline. I don't know what, but I like that he's back. I think he belongs. I think he's got a great presentation. I think he has a great look. I think there's something there. I think there's something to be done with the Wyatt Six, but it looks like they're turning him face because he's going after the Miz.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, obviously the Wyatt Six makes sense.
Hey, you've been a big proponent of Carmelo Hayes. Him working with the Miz means inevitably he's working with Carmelo Hayes. Those could be some great matches.
Yeah, those could be some great matches. And Carmelo Hayes is in a spot now with the Andre the Giant chain.
Yeah. No
that he got. So he's in a good spot. I mean, it's so funny how just pairing somebody up with the right guy can do, because Carmelo, I thought, like, he's not getting buried. He's like, kid's like 23, 24, 20. I don't know how old he is. He's young.
He's got to earn it. Yeah.
Like, they're not in a hurry to make him the champion, right? He's going to be around for another 10, 15 years, hopefully. So they got to build towards that. They got to give him a couple of years of doing other things, and putting him with the Miz makes him a big deal. There's something about the Miz, man, that just makes people feel important. Like, so even Alistair Black coming back and feuding with the Miz, like, I don't necessarily like the Miz's character, whether heel or face.
Yeah.
But I've gone to the point now where, like, I respect the work that he's put in and the legend that he is, and so anybody working with him feels like, I just got to accept it. It feels like a big deal. Yeah.
Well,
I like that, but I did like the segment before Alistair's return. Coincidence, probably not, that his wife won the United States Championship in the segment. He was probably waiting for her right there at Gorilla to congratulate her on her first championship win. So I think that's pretty cool that he was there to experience that with her.
Were you shocked that they let her win, or were you shocked that that's who they chose to take the title off of her?
I think it was the right person to take the title off of Chelsea Green. I think that's a perfect spot for Zelina Vega right now.
I think
she looks so small when she's standing next to the other women that you can't picture her as the heavyweight champion.
Right.
So this is a perfect spot, I think, for her to win her first. This is her first singles championship in her career. They said in like 14 years of professional wrestling.
Yep.
Well, congratulations to her. I feel like she's somebody that she does great on the mic. Great. She looks great. I'm happy for her, and I'm thinking Chelsea Green goes off and does bigger, better things at Money in the Bank coming up.
I feel like this is what the U.S. and Intercontinental Women's Championships were designed for, right? Like, you're building up somebody, you're making a big deal out of somebody, and if you're Chelsea Green, you want to elevate her into the main event picture at some point. Clearly, people are behind her. Clearly, she's got the work rate to do it. And for Zelina, it gives her a nice stalwart moment to be like, look, I'm a champion. I'm now holding on to this thing, and you got to come through me before you get to the next level. So I like it for all the people involved. I thought it was a fun match. I thought it was a good thing. It was fun to see Zelina, emotional, having that moment, holding up the title. Shout out Tops for putting their 2 cards. They do what's called Tops Now, where it's a snapshot of whatever that moment was. And they released Alistair's return and her championship win together on the same day. So shout out to them for that. Nice little husband and wife combo from Tops there. Let's get to Raw. So Raw, we saw.
Are we missing anything else? Are we missing anything?
No, that was the high points. I mean,
Tiffany Stratton, she's not doing it for me. Great. She's gonna get her feud with Nia Jax, get over on her.
Yeah.
One more win. Whatever. I'm more interested in the Jade and Naomi thing. I like where they're going.
Yeah.
With that.
It was unfortunate that had to end in DQ. I thought that could be a fun feud down the road.
But that's something they're going to come back to eventually, I believe. Bianca's out for a few weeks, so her return, maybe they'll decide if they want to turn her heel and team her up with Naomi, or if just do something completely different. So I'm kind of curious to see how they bring her back.
Well, let's get to the high point.
An injury can sometimes be a good thing, and I think she needed an injury.
Yeah.
A minor injury like this to go away and come back, and we're not so fatigued.
Give a breather for her. Let's get to the high points of Raw. We saw Seth, Braun, and Heyman at the beginning of Raw. Sami Zayn comes out. They extend an invitation for Sami to join. Says he has till the end of the night. Becky has an explanation promo segment with Lyra Valkyria. Goes off, basically says she's coming after that Intercontinental Championship. We would see Rhea Ripley take on Roxanne Perez, which would end in DQ. Julia would show up and help, as it is now being said that Julia and Roxy are going to be a part of Raw going forward. And then
they look great together, man.
They do. They really do.
They belong out there.
And then Io and Rhea, obviously, having each other's back in back-to-back weeks. Looks like we're headed for a tag team match there. Excuse me. The NXT Women's Champion, Stephanie Valcour, took on Ivy Nile. That's now in your top 3 of your rotation of women wrestlers. She's number 1?
La Primera. She's La Primera.
Oh, wow, that's fair. Out here doing the devil's kiss, Charlotte trying to over here take a move that don't belong to her and she has no business doing.
She doesn't have tools for it.
No, she don't. A fun match to showcase her as the NXT Women's Champion, and I would love to see her get that Roxanne Perez and Julia treatment not too far down the road where she gets to come up and do some stuff rather than just kind of showcase and then take off back to NXT. We would see Pat McAfee cut a promo on Gunther and do your favorite thing and drop an F-bomb on Gunther before Nick Aldis makes a match for Backlash of Gunther and McAfee. And the Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest saga is not over, as we would find out from SmackDown that was not over. So there was more to, as we said in the past, furthering things along, right? Like that was the whole thing. From SmackDown to Raw, we furthered things along. And now, to end the show, Sami winds up, says no deal. He has to deal with Braun Breaker, while Seth stands along the side and watches as Braun destroys Sami. No emotion, no just stoic look to prove, hey, this is, what it is. This is what we're doing. And I told you, and I try to be your friend, but this is what you get when you turn us down. And the show goes off the air with Sami decimated and Rollins, Braun, and Heyman standing tall again. In the middle of all that, you would have Logan Paul challenging Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight title. So I know that Raw was the one you really wanted to go in on, so the floor is yours.
Okay. I didn't like the opening segment with Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn. I didn't like that that's the direction that they're going to go in. I guess it's a good first feud for Braun Breaker I am assuming it's going to be Braun versus Sami at Backlash with Rollins kind of in his corner. I thought it felt clunky. I didn't like it. It felt just disconnected. Like Sammy had no business out there. Like it felt like they were forcing something. And so I hated that opening segment. I just did not like it. Like I don't know what it was. I just thought like this feels clunky to me. It's not cohesive. It's not they're forcing this. Like they didn't know where to go. Like, it was almost like they rushed it. Like they didn't. And so I mean, I get it, whatever. Like you need him to do something while Punk and Roman go away for a little bit. But and then I texted you like I would really like for Sammy to join them.
Yeah.
Almost like I would like for this to be some sort of a swerve where Punk maybe shows up at the end to defend Sammy, and Sammy turns on Punk and joins them, and he's a part of that group.
Right.
So I think Sammy's in a place in his career where he can be the guy. He's not going to lose anything by taking pins.
Right.
You know, whereas like where I said last week, I don't want Braun Breaker taking pins if he's going to be the one taking them for Rollins.
Right.
You know, so I didn't like that at all. I mean, what are your thoughts on? I like the ending. I thought they did a really good job of kicking his ass at the end.
Right.
Of Rollins of Breaker being his muscle, and he's like, "Oh shit, you're in trouble now. Here he comes," and him doing all the dirty work.
That's what I was about to ask you. Like, I like this pairing overall. Like, I like the idea of Seth and a young guy who's super strong. But I was just going to ask you, do you like him kind of being his attack dog? So
yeah, I like that.
And to you, I wanted to bring this up to you because this was something that is very, very on point for you right now. I sent this to David previously before you watched Raw. And I said, Seth is not a heel. This group aren't heels. Because unless you're standing in the ring across from Punk, who is beloved, unless you're standing in the ring across from Roman, who they've come to respect, it's, to your point, they're not bad guys. They're cool. And so there are no boos for this group. So what are your thoughts on the fans? Although what Seth and Heyman did was heel at WrestleMania, why do you think they're not getting that heel love now? And what do they need to do to turn it on its ear and get that heel reaction?
That's the thing, right? Seth was not a heel going into WrestleMania, right? Punk wasn't a heel. Roman wasn't a heel. So Heyman turning on Punk and Roman was kind of like solidified. Like the reasoning for it is good. Like they fucking dragged him along like a little, like a puppet in this situation, and Heyman's not that. Like he was justified in saying like, I'm not your guys' little bitch. I'm Paul freaking Heyman, right? Like, so like that's not a heel move to turn on them. Like they're the heels for putting them in that spot. So you're right. They're not the heel. Old school wrestling, you know, if you turn on a face, that makes you a heel, right? Automatically. But in this instance, they're not technically heels, but they're gonna be, right? But so the fans are cheering for them. Like Heyman is cool. People love Heyman. People have been cheering. They haven't known what to do with Braun Breaker since he came up.
Right.
He's a heel. They turn him face. They turn him back heel. He's a tweener. Yeah. People want to cheer for Braun Breaker. He has it, right? People want to cheer for him.
He has too much athleticism and makes you go, holy shit, when he does stuff to hate him.
Yeah, and we know his family history, his lineage. Like, we just love this guy. Like, so, yeah, and Seth isn't wrong in what he did. So, if they're going to be heels, they need to just, like, go in hard, and they need to find somebody that they can bring in that will solidify them as heels so that they can tell the story going forward and not have the fans ruin it by cheering for them.
Do you think the heel move is to take away those things from Braun Breaker? Like, get rid of everything. All the crazy things that you see, like that torpedo spear, the spear through the table, the running spear from the ringside, the jumping from the apron to the table to clothesline somebody. Do you feel like they need to take that away to make
No, because you're John Cena. Because now you're John Cena ruining wrestling.
But that's what a heel does, right? Like, you take away what people like. And the other side of that, should they have gone after somebody? Like, people like Sammy, but because of what these guys do and what they look like together now, Sammy's, like, I guess, fondness with the fans isn't as strong as the new cool, shiny toy that this pairing is. So
who could have gone after? Jey Uso right away?
Maybe, but I was going to say, should they just start steamrolling undercard guys? Like, just beating the shit out of people, just leaving them laying? Or would that be a problem? Because piling bodies is just going to make them look more badass.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Like the NWO, that's what the NWO was doing, right? They were just rolling everybody, and people were on board with them. So, I don't know how you fix it. Maybe Paul Heyman has to be the one to cut the promo, shitting on the fans, so that they boo him. Because I think fans play along with Paul Heyman. Like fans have wanted to love Paul Heyman forever, but when he was doing, Roman Reigns' dirty work for all those years, like they would boo him when he came out.
Along, yeah.
They played along. So maybe they need to have Paul Heyman take the mic and fans, and he can put them in their place, tell them to shut up, and do it that way. So something needs to happen there. I didn't like who they went after, Sammy. The only thing that I gathered from Sammy in that segment was at some point he's going to get his comeback, right? And he was talking about how he's going to be a world heavyweight champion, and that tells me that at some point Seth Rollins is going to be world heavyweight champion, and he's going to drop it to Sammy, and that's where he's going to finally overcome them and become a world heavyweight champion.
Is that the deal, or is it that he's going to wind up going, I get it now, and he's going to join them, and that's him taking out Jay? Because we saw him lurking, right? We saw him lurking in the celebration.
Yeah, but is he going to take out? But don't you want Rollins to have it? Like, don't you want Rollins to be your world heavyweight champion?
If, as a fan, I would rather see Rollins have it, so I can go, God, not you having it again. Like if he's a heel, you know what I mean?
I think him having that would be more of a heel move.
Yeah.
So I think they want to give Jay a couple of title defenses. I think they got to go after him eventually. I think it's going to be probably WrestleMania.
I don't
or
think
SummerSlam. I meant.
Yeah.
Maybe SummerSlam would be a good place for it. But maybe sooner. I don't know what their pay-per-view or PLE lineup looks like, but maybe sooner. Because last year that was Damian Priest's run, right? He made it to SummerSlam. That would be a little repetitive. So we'll be there.
What did you think about McAfee's promo, and what do you think about them having a match between him and Gunther?
I thought it was I thought people were saying this was a great promo. I heard somebody was it Bully Ray saying that it was like top 20 promo all time.
Yeah, Tommy says top 5 of Raw.
Or Tommy, it was Tommy Dreamer. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm just over McAfee's shtick. I'm just not. He's just loud and kind of obnoxious, and I don't know. He's just feeling himself a little too much these days with all his success. I don't know. Like,
you are somebody who's been vehemently against the cussing thing, unless it's here and there where it makes a big impact. Is using it with McAfee on Gunther the right move?
No, I don't think he needed it. I just think. Well, I had a coach that always used to say that cussing is just a sign of ignorance.
Right.
I cuss too, so I'm kind of ignorant. But
it makes us all fucking ignorant. How about that?
I'm a fucking ignorant ass. But so is McAfee. I mean, you don't need it all the time. It wasn't necessary there, whatever. I don't think it was intentional. I think he just got caught up and he just
said it.
He dropped it. I don't think, yeah. So, and he can get away, like The Rock. He'll do it and get away with it. I think other guys got to be a little more careful with it. But they're doing a little too much of it at this point. And they need to go away from it because they didn't do anything for me. It's like Cody just dropped an F word.
Right.
You know what? A few weeks ago. So, it's fine. I think I like where they're going with this. If this is kind of just a way for Gunther to kick his ass and build I'm hearing the rumors of a Goldberg match at SummerSlam, retirement match, and this is kind of a way to get there. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Promo. I thought it was a good promo. I didn't hate it, but. I thought it was a little indulgent, yeah, a little too much.
Well, let's talk about somebody that you were adamantly behind for many, many months. And last year, hey, let him win Money in the Bank. Let him become the world champion.
They didn't strike while the iron was hot, man. They did not strike.
And now he's the first guy that Jey Uso's got to deal with?
I had a feeling. If it wasn't going to be Rollins going after the World Heavyweight title right away, I had a feeling that it was going to be the guy that won a big match that nobody was talking about. He was going to come back and say, I just beat AJ Styles, a former world champion, future Hall of Famer at WrestleMania. It's my time to be champion. I had a feeling it was going to be him. They kind of swerved me for a little bit last week when they said he was going to go away for a little bit and reassess things. And then he shows up on Monday night. I was like, oh boy, here we go. Like, I knew that's exactly where he was going when he started cutting his promo. I don't even want to see it because I don't want the possibility of him winning to be there. Like, that's going to be one of those moments that's going to make me want to just turn it off. Like, he's at the point where he has to go away. and he has go away heat with me too.
Right.
Like, I don't want to see him on TV.
That makes sense.
And if he's the world champion, I don't want to see what happens next.
Right. No, that makes sense.
So hopefully it's just a one-off. Hopefully Jay wins and moves on to something else, and it's just a way to get him a win against somebody noticeable and get more eyes on him or something like that.
Fair.
But I mean, that character, there's just nothing to that character.
No, I agree. We've said this, that there needs to be an expansion of this character. That this character or this adaptation of Logan Paul is burnt.
But think about the heat that he's going to get with the World Heavyweight Championship around his shoulders or around his waist.
I hope not.
Like,
I hope not. I genuinely hope not.
I think that's the only way to get him heat at this point is to make him the champion.
You brought up the fans, and wanted to talk about the fans and them, understandably so. They're cheering guys that, quote unquote, you shouldn't. They're booing guys that should be favorites. And WWE's leaning more and more into tweeners. Of sometimes this guy's a bad guy. Sometimes this guy's a good guy. Sometimes this good guy has to do bad things. But it's understandable because of the situation. What is your stance on the fans and them suspending their disbelief to, quote unquote, play along?
I feel like as fans, it is our job to play along. Now, maybe there's a storyline that we don't like, and so I'm of the people that thinks that instead of booing, like when Logan Paul comes out, just don't do anything. I think we've heard this before. Like,
right. No reaction's the best reaction if you want to make a difference. Yeah.
Right. So Logan Paul comes out and nobody makes a noise. Is WWE going to want to put him back on their TV screens? No. But they boo him. So they're like, oh, he's getting heat, whether it's go away heat or not. Like, they put him back on TV. So if there's something you don't like, just sit there. Just don't make any noise. Right? Otherwise, play along. I think you should play along because it ruins the storyline. It ruins the story that they're trying to tell, and I hate it. And the part of the show that I hated was the Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria part.
Okay.
First of all, I want to talk about Becky Lynch. I'm telling you, I think she's fucking Hulk Hogan. I think people hate Charlotte. Not to the political part or all the crazy shit that confused, but the rest get me over. Like,
yeah,
she's proven. I think that there's examples of her saying, "I'm coming back. I'm getting over. I don't care." Like the story that they told to get her to break off from Valkyria wasn't necessary, but she wanted that title reign under her belt. Her just being like angry at Bayley for no reason and just yelling and being crazy was out of nowhere. Like, I hated that. Like, I think it was stupid. I don't know if she's going to go for the crazy unhinged character this time around as a heel where she's just always going crazy, and that's what she's trying to do. But it didn't make any sense to me. Like, why are you so angry, bro? Like, chill. Like, This is coming out of nowhere. Like, there was no build to you getting angry. There was no frustration.
You've been gone for a year. What are you mad about?
You've been on vacation. Why are you mad? Like, what? So I didn't like that. But whatever. She did it. And then Valkyria comes out, and they just start booing her. They start whatting her.
Yeah.
And that's the one that pisses me off is when you what somebody, especially somebody that's a face, young, up and coming, that's trying to, handle themselves against one of the greatest, mic people out there, and you're just going to what her and boo her for no reason whatsoever. I fucking hate that shit. Like, stop. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that. Like, there was no reason for Becky. Like, Becky's promo was terrible. So for you to want to cheer her in that moment, I think was stupid. Her character that day was terrible. Why would you cheer for her? Like, I would boo Becky. She sucked.
Right.
This comeback has sucked for her so far.
I agree. I think that the reason to be mad doesn't make sense. You've been on, like you said, you've been doing movies, right? Doing a book tour. What are you mad about?
Raising your baby that you're happy to have. Yeah. Like, why are you mad?
Who you took to the press conference at WrestleMania? Like, there's not a whole lot to be mad about. I could see if they did the whole I'm mad thing because my husband's getting screwed, and so I'm joining that group as the female in the group. But they don't really want to do that. They've both said they're uncomfortable working with each other in that way. So I don't think that's a thing. Lyra is somebody that people like her song. They do the woo thing with her song. They like her until now. until Becky shows up, and now we're gonna what the shit out of her, and we're gonna sit here. I will say I like that she, whether it was part of the deal or not, that she went straight at Becky. Like there were certain instances where she didn't let her talk, and she stood her ground, which helped her. She didn't just get railroaded like Tiffany a couple weeks ago.
I thought she did okay. Like when she told her, I'm a better person than you and a better wrestler than you. Like I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
Like she might be.
There was definitely some positive to come out of that. But this idea of we're going to play along until you go towards the person that I like. And then we're just going to, as a group, entirely shit on everything that we've been not doing up until now. Like, that's rough. That's rough. And as a viewer from home, and I agree with you, there are times where I'm just like, some of these promos are brutal because these fans hijack these moments of what otherwise could possibly be a pretty solid or a pretty good promo, at least from a passion standpoint or making a point that makes sense. And they turn around and just kill the whole thing because they want to hijack and have their moment of like, look what we did. It's like, no.
I remember there was a moment that like the fans would complain about Finn Balor not getting a push, and they would complain about it and then complain about it. And I forget what moment it was, but it was like a peak moment in one of the stories, and Finn Balor was out there like spilling his heart, and the fans were doing the what,
right,
and booing. Like fans are stupid. Like you want Finn Balor to have his moment, and you're going to sabotage it when he finally fucking gets it.
Right.
You can't have nice things. That's why you have John Cena ruining wrestling. That's why it's a work, baby.
That's why it's a work. Well,
calm down. Calm down. You want to bitch and complain, but then you want to hijack certain parts of the show? Fuck off.
All right. Well, I mean,
both ways.
You can't have it both ways. I'll say that. You can't have it both ways. Do you feel like we hit all the high points of Raw? Did we miss anything?
I think the Lucha brothers are getting together a lot sooner than we expected.
Do you feel like Penta's kind of floating right now in this like weird?
No. I think that Rey Mysterio got hurt, so they went away from the LWO Judgment Day storyline.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they believe in Dragon Lee and the other guys as much.
Yeah.
So they shifted from Rey to Penta, and now he's outnumbered. I mean, let's talk about a Lucha Brothers, Finn, and JD McDonough match coming up here.
Right.
Banger. Like, come on. Like, let's get. I think they're shifting to that. I think, unfortunately, because of Rey's injury, I think they're putting them together sooner than they expected.
That's fair.
I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be Dragon Lee and Penta, so they can try and give him some shine. But for whatever reason, that's 2 WrestleManias in a row where somebody gets hurt and Dragon Lee gets passed over.
That's fair.
One was maybe storyline and one was not, and he still got passed over 2 straight WrestleManias.
Hey, listen. Unfortunately, I've seen that guy break somebody's neck. So, like, I've seen him back when he was in New Japan before he made it to WWE. They presented him as IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, which is essentially a cruiserweight. But there's not a cruiserweight division in WWE. There's not a whole lot of that, and that takes some of his steam away pretty quickly. So if you're not invested in him, that's why I think he was a bigger factor in NXT. Like, not because the guys are smaller necessarily, but because NXT is more about the wrestling, not the entertainment and the advertisement.
Well, I think I said this before. They need to turn him heel. They can't have all the guys wearing masks, all the Mexicans wearing masks as faces.
Yeah.
Think back to the WCW days. There was Luchador against Luchador,
right,
having these awesome matches to start the shows because they had heels. You know, so yeah. So not everybody's going to sell masks. Not everybody's going to sell merch. Just turn them.
Right.
Dragon Lee and the LWO now are pissed off because they're getting looked over, and they're coming after Penta and Rey Fénix maybe. They can have tag team matches. They can have singles matches. They can do lucha rules matches where it's anything goes. Like they're almost like tornado matches.
Right.
Like there's so much that they can do, but they don't really do it because they don't. If they have a mask on, they have to be a good guy so they can sell the action.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the WWE style.
If you think about it, like with all the faces and the heels in all these Mexican rivalries, it's always been the guys without the mask that are the heels.
Well, isn't El Grande an example of that at this current time?
Well, I mean, he's not Mexican.
Well, no. What I mean is having a masked guy, even though you may or may not know who's underneath it, be the heel that people are like.
Regardless of who it is, he's Americano. He's American. He's the big American.
Well, I got news for you. Dragon Lee was spurned from a
He's,
Japanese name, and that's a Mexican dude. So,
and then one of the guys in the LWO is like Puerto Rican, right? Or
is
not
it,
even
is it
Hispanic,
Montoro
Filipino.
or is it Joaquin?
I think one of the Walking Wild, right? I think one of those guys is not even Hispanic. I
They're
think
all
he's
over
like,
the place.
I think he's Middle Eastern, and they're just playing him off.
Um,
I got to double check that. Don't quote me, but I know he's not Hispanic. I think he's,
yeah.
but I think he had an interview where he said something like, "Yeah, I guess I got to do it." But let's start turning some of these mask guys heels, and now we got more coming in maybe that are going to be through a rotation now with the purchase of AAA. There's going to be more wrestlers, and isn't AAA the company that just reintroduced La Parca?
Was it?
Or is that,
Or was it CMLL?
was this, I don't know. I don't know.
I have to look it up. Let me look it up real quick.
Like, because La Parca is just legendary, right? The character, and they just reintroduced somebody else as La Parca. Somebody did, and it would be great to see him, but I don't. Maybe it's CMLL.
CMLL. Oop. La Party, was that it? Yep. CMLL is what it looks like.
Okay. So there's other heels that they have.
I take that back. It is AAA that they
Okay.
reintroduced him in.
So
Yep.
they're going to have like a revolving door, I think, of luchadors that are going to be able to come in and wrestle against the faces. So we got to see it. We got to start seeing some of these masked men, because every single person that they bring in with a mask, they want to have them as a face. I can't remember the last time they had a Mexican luchador come in with a mask and be a heel.
That's
I don't. I mean, even back to the Mystico. What's his name? What was his
Sin Cara?
name? Sin Cara, right? He was. I mean, they tried it when they had the. Did they do two Sin Caras or something like that at one point?
The one Sin Cara was just bad. They were trying to replace Sin Cara.
The original.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think the Lucha Brothers are getting together sooner
I hope
than we
so.
thought. I mean, that'd be a good rivalry with those two guys in the Judgment Day, and it could be a combination of Dom and Finn, Dom and JD, Dom and Carlito. I mean, there's a combination of things that they can do with those guys and the Lucha Brothers.
That's true. I mean, there's a lot of legs to them getting together and the things they could do and what they can do to the tag team division. I mean, just together, what they can do. So, I mean, there's a lot of legs to that. There's a lot of things to be said. You don't like, and we'll wrap things up with this question as a fun one, since the beginning of this was very somewhat passionate and serious. You don't like cussing in the general sense. What do you think of guys like Penta cussing in Spanish?
I mean, calling somebody a pendejo, I think is funny.
Okay,
Or calling somebody a cabron, I think is funny.
right.
Um,
Okay. Let's be clear.
it's got to be. It's got to be done.
We may have some listeners that don't understand what those words mean, so you got to explain them in the context of how they're used. Because
Well, I mean, calling somebody a pendejo is just a very strong way of calling somebody a stupid idiot. Stupid.
ass.
Stupid ass. Yeah, cabron is like fucker.
Yeah.
So they don't translate exactly all the time, but
Right.
that's probably as close as we're going to get there. I mean, as long as they're not doing it on the mic, right? Like if they're just like
If they're yelling it and the mic picks it up, that's different.
I think it adds to something to it. I think it adds something to it.
Is that any different than you hearing like McAfee call Gunther a motherfucker versus like a match going on and you hear somebody like fucker? Like, is that any different?
Like if last week when Gunther attacked Mac or Cole,
Yeah.
and McAfee said something like "you piece of shit" or
Yeah.
"you motherfucker" off mic and the camera, I think that adds something to it.
Okay.
You know, it feels more like
Authentic?
oh shit,
Yeah.
yeah, more authentic rather than on the mic using it.
Yeah. Okay. That makes
So-
sense. Well, as we wrap things up here for episode 101, we've gone long enough here. We've had some serious talk. We've had some reviews. We've had some passionate talk. And my Celtics have already moved on. They beat the Magic last night to move on to round 2. The Laker game is currently going on with the Wolves, where judging by you shaking your head is probably not going well.
I think the LeBron era is winding down. Father Time has caught up with LeBron James and these pesky fucking Timberwolves, man. I tell you, they have energy. They don't give up. They're constantly attacking. I hate to admit it, like I hate that they're beating my Lakers, but that's the kind of basketball I want to see. I like watching the way that they play, even though I hate Rudy Gobert. Ant-Man, like he's just awesome. Like he's a WWE character, man. Like that
You think
guy,
so?
man, he could, yeah. Like the way that he goes after those old heads, the way that he goes after Durant and LeBron, even though they're like homies and they became close, like he doesn't back down from those guys.
Not at
And I
all.
love that he doesn't take himself too seriously. I love that he can go back and after a loss and say, "Hey, I got my ass kicked," or "Yeah, I'm coming for you. I'm
Well,
coming for
hey,
that ass."
he's
Like
trying to become
I love his character
he's trying to become the Antonio Cromartie of the NBA with all these babies at the same time. So
and just paying him off at once. I think I like Ant. It's killing me that it's him beating the Lakers, but once the Lakers are done, and it looks like today's it, man. The Lakers look like they don't have anything. Yeah, I think that
who realistically, who do you think will be in it from the West, and who would you rather see come out of the West?
I think I thought going into the playoffs the Lakers had a legitimate chance just because of their big three, and I saw Luka last year lead the Mavericks to the finals with a lesser team around. Like I mean, he's got LeBron and he had Austin Reeves playing at such a high level. But I think what's happening, not to make excuses here, is that the NBA for whatever reason decided to allow physicality in these playoffs. Like they're allowing hand checking, they're allowing them to just ride them all the way up and down the court. And so the Timberwolves are taking that advantage of that and wearing them down. Like they are legitimately like just they're not giving Luka any space, and he's somebody that needs space to operate. He's not exactly explosive, right? So if they're going to allow them to just body him, he's not going to be able to get around these guys, and he's going to struggle. He's going to work really, really hard to get his. And LeBron at his age is going to have to work really, really hard to get his. And Austin Reeves doesn't have that explosiveness to do it. So I thought they had a chance, but the way that the playoffs, and not just this series, all the series, right? Like the Knicks Pistons series, man, that's fun. Like that's good basketball. Like,
Do you feel like that's a little bit of a blast from the past, so to speak, in the physicality?
yeah, man, that's a good series. That's fun. So I'm liking the chippiness in the Celtics Rockets series or the Rockets Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Those are basically the three series that I've been paying attention to. The other ones have been blowouts.
So yeah.
So I'm generally I'm that petty guy that once my team is out, I'll stop watching.
Oh, okay.
But the way that these playoffs are going, like I'm legitimately like upset that the Lakers are going to be bounced here in the first round. But there's so many other good matchups and so many other good teams that I think I'm gonna have to pay attention. Like
Nice.
the Celtics are going to play the winner of the Knicks.
Yeah, the winners, Knicks, Pistons.
I mean, the Knicks have the experience. The Pistons are inexperienced, so that they probably want the Pistons. But I think those would be fun, and the Pistons aren't going to back down. They're going to be fun physical matchups, man. Like whoever wins, I think whoever wins this year is going to earn it. I think it's going to be at this point the way that I'm seeing it, it's going to be the Thunder.
Oh.
I just think that their depth now, because I thought it would be the Lakers. I don't see Minnesota or Houston having
enough weapons.
If Houston doesn't have a guy that's reliable.
They don't have a go-to guy. Like Jalen Green's great, but he's not that guy.
I mean, when he's got 3 out of the first 4 games, he had single-digit points. That says enough about him, right? So, Thunder, I think Boston. I think that's going to be the finals matchup. And I think depending on how the games are officiated, because I haven't seen the Thunder games in the playoffs yet, but if they allow physicality, Drew Holiday's going to get up in Shea's mug and cause some trouble. But if Shea gets called the way that he got called all regular season, I think they have a legitimate chance to pull it off.
Going to be a good one. One thing I want to shout out about the NBA, I was watching this morning on Whatnot. Today, flawless cards for the NBA dropped. A guy today ran 50 cases of flawless. $1.3 million in inventory today. Buying spots is buying players' spots. So, like, let's say you buy LeBron, right? You have LeBron in all 50 cases. So every LeBron card that comes out, unless it's LeBron and somebody else, they all go to you. And if you get LeBron, like let's say for argument's sake, it's LeBron and Bronny somehow, right? If it was that card, it would be you and whoever had Bronny would have to spend for it, and the winner would get that card. I screenshotted what James Harden's spot went for. These cases are $24,000 a piece. That's why there's $1.3 million in inventory. James Harden's spot went for $20,000. Victor Wembanyama's spot went for $150,000. That was the first time I've ever seen with my own eyes what fuck you money looks like. It was pretty wild to watch. Fun, but when you looking at that, 2-3 spots in that is somebody's entire year's wages. Like it was wild. I mean, $150,000, that's 2 solid nice cars.
Yeah.
Like that's a car and a truck. You know what I mean? Like
I need to get into Bitcoin, make some money so I can invest into these cars.
I'm telling you, it's wild.
My teaching salary is not going to cut it.
No, hey, my job's not going to cut it.
I'm going to go buy a pack of cards right now for $5.99 at Lids and see what happens.
There you go. Might fall in love. What do you have to tell the people as we get the fuck out of here?
Stop cheering for people that don't need to be cheered and stop booing the people that need to be cheered or something like that. Do your job. Do your job, fans.
Give them the crickets if you want to shut them out. Freeze them out. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Grab a Hold podcast.